You have spent months being told to fear that Iran will close the Strait of Hormuz. That is the wrong fear. Iran does not need to close the road. It wants to own the road, to regulate it, to charge rent on it. A closure is a crisis. It ends. A toll booth is a system and it stays. And once ships start paying the man at the gate, the old world is already gone. And yes, this still reaches your wallet. Gas, heat, groceries, shipping, the insurance on every cargo that moves by the sea. But the deeper story is not the price at the pump. The price spike is loud. The change of ownership is quiet. A war scare fades in a season. A toll never does. It just becomes a line on a bill your grandchildren will still be paying. Last week, we showed you why the next strike on Iran costs more. This is the bigger move, and it arrives with almost no shots fired. Here is what Iran is actually doing. Its ambassador in Moscow said the strait will stay open, but only under new rules set by Iran and Oman, with a transit fee. The fee changes with the ship, the cargo, the conditions. The United States rejects it flatly. Oman denies helping with any toll, and Iran insists these are not tolls at all. They are, in Tehran's word, service fees for navigation, for security. Watch the language. The name is the whole game. And spare a thought for Oman. It sits on the far shore of that same narrow water. Iran is its neighbor forever. The US fleet comes and goes, so Oman talks to both, denies everything, and waits. Even old friends are quietly keeping their options open. Reports say some ships have already paid up to $2 million to cross. Not confirmed, not systematic, but the direction is not in doubt. Now you might be doubting me already. Rumor, you say, thin proof. That is a fair shot, so let me take it square. This is not yet a finished machine. The fees are patchy, the denials are loud, the numbers are reported, not proven. Believe the move, doubt the size. But a toll booth is never built in a day. It is built one paid ship, one quiet permit, one softened word at a time. And every piece we can see points one way. Iran is not walking this back. It is dressing it for court. Closing Hormuz is the crude version of power. Governing Hormuz is the sophisticated version. A closure is temporary. A fee is a claim. A paid fee is recognition. And recognition is how a new order quietly gets born. Think of it like a neighborhood. The day everyone starts paying one man for protection, he runs the street. Nobody voted. Nobody signed anything. They just paid. And paid again. So the real question changes under our feet. It is no longer, can Iran close the strait? It is now, who gave Iran the right to charge? And the uncomfortable answer is this: the market did. Every ship that pays is a vote, and the votes are saying yes. Picture the man who owns that ship. His tanker sits outside the strait, burning money every hour. He can wait and bleed, or he can pay and sail. He pays. Of course he pays. It is just business. But the moment he pays, something larger cracks. He just has agreed that the road has an owner, and the cost does not stop with him. His insurer sees a war zone and raises the price of cover. That war risk charge rides on top of every barrel. The freight company lifts its rate to match. By the time the oil reaches your city, the toll has worn 3 disguises. You do not see a toll, you see a slightly higher number at the pump. That is how a fee 2,000 miles away ends up in your tank. And some of you are shrugging at all this. We have our own oil, you say. Let Hormuz burn. You're half right. North America does pump more than it burns. But you do not buy gas at a local price. You buy it at the world price. Do not take my word. The US government's own energy agency says it. Being a net exporter barely changes what you pay at the pump. And by AAA's own count, gas crossed $4 a gallon since this war began. On the western shore of the United States, it's almost $6 a gallon. According to some reports, it's beyond $6 a gallon. Your own well does not save you from a price set out there. Now, let me show you why this should land hardest on an American. Because the United States was practically born refusing this exact deal. Go back to the 1780s. The young country called the United States of America has just won its independence, and it has lost the thing that quietly kept its ships safe. The British Navy no longer protects American trade. Out in the Mediterranean, the Barbary states run a simple operation. Pay us or your ships do not sail. Your sailors do not come home. The Europeans had paid this tribute for years. It was cheaper than war. So America paid too, starting in 1784, just for safe passage. But one man hated it down to the bone: Thomas Jefferson. He called tribute a humiliation, which it was, and a bottomless one. Pay it once, he warned, and the demand only grows. His answer was blunt: build a navy instead. Why not begin a navy, he asked, and decide on war? Years later, as a president, the bill came due again. Tripoli demanded $225,000. Jefferson said no, and America fought its first war overseas, the First Barbary War, from 1801 to 1805. You have heard the line your whole life probably: to the shores of Tripoli. This is that shore. That war. 8 US Marines fought here in 1805 with a hired desert army. They raised the American flag over foreign ground for the first time. This is the Tripoli the Marines still sing about. America did not pay the gatekeeper. It sent the Marines. The United States did not become a sea power because it loved the ocean. It became a sea power because paying for passage was unbearable. That is the founding instinct. Never again pay the gatekeeper. Now hold that thought. Today, the first American answer to tribute on the sea was a navy. 200 years later, the wheel is turning back the other way. This country built its power to end tolls on the open water. Now it may have to watch those tolls return. And at the most important energy choke point on the planet. The final test of that navy is a brutal one. Can it still stop the very thing it was created to stop? Plenty of you are already answering that. Of course it can, you say. We are the superpower, endless munitions. Iran is finished. America does have the strongest military on earth. No argument. But tonnage is not the test. The right kind is. This is not me talking. A hawkish Washington think tank, CSIS or CSIS for short, ran the Pentagon's own numbers. America spent about half its Patriot interceptors and more than half its THAADs. The rebuild takes 3 years or more. Fox News and the anti-war crowd reported the same figures. When both of these sides, the right and the left, agree, it is not a spin. And Iran finished? A finished country does not build a toll booth. A finished country does not make the world's shippers pay it to pass. If this is the kind of map you want underneath the headlines, stay with me. Subscribe. The next part is where it gets personal for the dollar in your pocket. Now, the piece almost no one connects. How the toll gets paid matters as much as the toll itself. If a ship pays in dollars, Washington can see it, and Washington can punish it. But reports say Iran wants to be paid another way. One account had ships paying about $1 per barrel in crypto. Cash, crypto, barter, goods traded for passage. I will not drown you in crypto talk. The point is simple. Paid outside the dollar. The toll booth becomes a hole in the dollar fence. The dollar's real power was never only the printing press. It was the whole world's trade had to pass through it. A choke point that charges in something else chips away at that, quietly. One ship at a time. One barrel at a time. And here's why that reaches you. The dollar's strength is part of what keeps your prices from running away. Chip at the dollar's grip on trade, and that strength slowly leaks. Not in a crash. In a long, quiet erosion you feel as prices that never fall back. And now the most revealing moment in this whole story. The sharpest part is not what Iran wants, it is how Washington answered. After a shaky ceasefire, a reporter asked the president a direct question. Was he okay with Iran charging a toll on every ship? The president did not say no. He floated a partnership. His words, "We are thinking of doing it as a joint venture, a way of securing it," he said. And then, "It's a beautiful thing." Sit with that for a second. This country built its whole sea power to kill tolls. Now its president muses about co-owning the toll booth? His own Secretary of State had called the plan illegal and dangerous. No one else in the government backed the idea. But the president said it out loud, on camera. He went further on his own platform. There was big money to be made, he wrote, in the traffic at the strait. "We will be loading up and hanging around," he said, "to make sure it goes well." Read that again. The leader of the Free Sea Order talking like a man who just bought into the booth. That is not strength. That is an empire quietly deciding the booth is here to stay and asking for its cut. The guard at the gate offering to split the take with the bandit. And there is one last objection, the hardest one, the moral card. The Iran regime, you say, kills its own people. That is true. The Iranian state has real blood on its hands. But watch what this argument is doing. It wants you keeping score, not watching the structure. So here is the scoreboard, honestly. On the first day of this war, a strike hit a girls' school in Minab, as we all covered it before. At least 165 girls died, aged 7 to 12. Do not take an Iranian source for this. The UN's own experts documented it. Human Rights Watch examined it. The Pentagon's own review found US forces were likely to blame and opened an investigation. A regime's lie does not investigate itself. I'm not telling you one side is clean. Neither is. Every empire kills and every empire calls its action justice, however atrocious they may be. The moral sermon is the oldest distraction there is. While you score the souls, someone is quietly building a toll booth on your oil. Keep your eyes on the structure. The structure does not lie to you. So pull back. Here is what this really is. This is not a short crisis at one strait. It is a test of a single question. Does the free sea still have an enforcer? For most of your life, the answer was yes, and you never had to think about it. That was the gift you never knew you were given. Trade just moved, and the road stayed free. The new world runs on a different rule now. An older rule, really. Pay the gatekeeper, hire protection, or stay home. That is the world your great-grandparents lived in. It may be the world your grandchildren inherit. Think about what that quietly takes away. The cheap goods, the full shelves, the sense that the world just works. None of that was natural. It rested on one promise, that the sea lanes stayed open and nobody stood at the door with a handout. Pull that promise and the whole machine turns slower, costlier, meaner. Now, the part that should keep you up at night. Hormuz is not the only door. Suez, where one stuck ship choked global trade for a week. The Red Sea narrows, where missiles already chase cargo ships. The Black Sea, Panama, the Malacca Strait. Every one of them is a choke point. Every one of them can grow a gate. If a toll works here, why not there? The booth at Hormuz is a template. The others are watching. That is the road we are walking now. I lay the full map out this week in the Substack brief with every source. If you run a business where fuel, shipping, or supply costs decide your year, that brief is built for you. And if you need this read directly for your own planning, the link to book a call is below. The sea was just one road nobody ever charged you to use. That was not luck. It was an order held up by one navy for 80 years. Now watch who is building the gate, and watch who offers to help them run it. The free sea was the quiet engine under your whole life. Engines like that never warn you before they stop. This is a wrap for today, my friends. I'll see you next week.